So I'm Professor Becky Whay. I'm the Vice President here at University of Galway. So it's my pleasure to give you the warmest of welcomes to the second ENLIGHT European Dialogue. So in Ireland, we say Céad Míle Fáilte, which is a very traditional Irish greeting that means 100,000 welcomes. So 100,000 welcomes to the second European Dialogue. In a little while, I'll tell you a little bit more about ENLIGHT and the reason we're all here together. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce our university president, Professor Ciarán hÓgartaigh, who's going to give you a very official but very warm welcome from the University of Galway.
Thank you very much, Mahagav, and Dogs Town Fáilte, Céad Míle Fáilte. My name is Ciarán hÓgartaigh. I'm President of the University of Galway, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to our campus. And that's me, my name there. And just to say welcome and welcome to Galway. As you see on the map, we see ourselves as on the edge of Europe, but in the middle of things. And ENLIGHT is very much part of that, gives us that perspective. Ireland, as you might know, is 50 years in Europe, in the European Union this year, still in the European Union, and very active member, and really keen. A very different philosophy here towards Europe as in some other countries. Very positive. Sees Europe has been very much part of Ireland's economic and social growth and our development. We see very much the openness of our economy in the 1960s and 70s, and then the entry to the European Union is something which transformed the country. And certainly I'm born in the late 60s, grew up just near here, and I can see that being in the European Union, being part of Europe, that mentality was a very important part of the transformation of this country during my lifetime, and you'll find a very positive idea towards Europe. In the early 60s, John F. Kennedy visited Galway, 1963, the spring, just coming back from his famous speech at the Berlin Wall. And he visited Galway, went to Eyre Square. If you go into the square, there's still the plinth from which he spoke and gave his speech. And in that speech, he, very like Kennedy, he used some flamboyant language, and he said that if your eyesight was good enough and the weather was clear enough, you could see Boston from Galway. And it's actually Newfoundland, but we leave that to geography and Kennedy's poetry. But it's very much the philosophy again here, that we're in Europe, but on the edge of things and looking outwards. And if you go down towards the promenade in Salt Hill, or towards the Claddagh, or towards Ballylochan on the eastern side of the city, we see the horizon here every day. And when we see the horizon, we wonder what's on the other side. And like all great adventurers, all great explorers, all great researchers, we have that curiosity. And that mentality also infuses this university, that it is open, it's part of the European ideal, very much open to the European philosophy and the concept of Europe, but also every day that we are curious. We look beyond the horizon and wonder what's on the other side. And I think today and the next day or two is very much a manifestation of that. I like the idea of working together, first of all. So this is an idea, the AIMday, that started in Uppsala as part of the ENLIGHT partnership, and we have brought it here now. And I think, like all good ideas, it'll be something that'll develop from here with other partnerships as well. So that sense of working together, very important for us. And again, that sense of being open, and open to new ideas, open to critique, open to exploring together, which is the third part of today, is exploring solutions. But before we do that, we have the idea of tackling challenges, or maybe even identifying challenges. And the other thing about Galway here is that we have just two manifestations, but it's an illustration of a broader way we work, is of how we do that work. We have a program called BioInnovate, which is funded by Enterprise Ireland, one of our development agencies for Indigenous or Irish companies. And that program sends students and the members of the program into the hospital, and they spend some time there and they find problems. And then they come back and try and find a solution to that problem. And that program has been very, very successful in numerous spin-outs, very successful in the context of developing ideas and bringing them to market. And it's very much, again, our philosophy of doing research which is based on finding solutions to problems. And infusing our research here is the idea of public patient involvement in research. So we lead here in Galway, our colleagues lead the Irish network for public and patient involvement in research, which is not just thinking about how the public or patients would be involved in research at the end and telling them what we found and then working with them in order to implement it, but actually from the beginning and throughout the research, having public and patient involvement in the research, defining it, defining the methodology, having that sense that we don't know everything here. And I'm very keen as a university that we are a learning institution. We think always if we're teaching, we know, and we know because we learn. And so we are learning from today, we're learning from how we work with yourselves as partners, we're learning from the public and for the public good as we are as a university, and we also learn from patients and in the healthcare sector and their involvement in our research. So that also is a very important part of the mentality here in the context of how we work together. And this day today is again another manifestation of that. So working with companies in order to identify their issues and their problems, and then finding in our research ways of working with them and making an impactful and meaningful intervention that then works with them in bringing that into implementing it in the real world, so to speak. Though we are in the real world here too, I always think. So 3 things, therefore, I want you to remember about Galway. First of all, ENLIGHT is a very important part of what we do here. The European ideal is a very important part of what infuses the culture of this university as it does in the context of the country at large. Secondly, as a city, Galway, we are one of the most diverse and fastest growing cities in Europe. 20% of the population of Galway was not born in Galway, but not born in Ireland. So very diverse and very welcoming city. And a city that always looks to the horizon, looks beyond it with curiosity to find out what's on the other side. A university, similarly, that looks beyond the horizon with curiosity to see what's on the other side. And today is a manifestation of that. And then thirdly, working together, tackling challenges, finding solutions, and today being a manifestation of that. In all that we do, we see this as part of our DNA. And there's a phrase in Irish which is somewhat of a cliche, which is ní neart go cúrla céile. So strength comes from being together. And there's another which says our ska céile war nadini, together in our own shadow, in each other's shadow we live. And this is very much today part of that idea that we have as a university, that we're open, we're curious, and we also want to work together. So you're all very welcome. As Becky said, Céad Míle Fáilte is in Irish 100,000 welcomes. There's another, which I started at the beginning, which is Gura Míle Maithagh, which is, as people here will know of a local from this parish, is thank you. But if you parse that, it also means may you have good. Gura Maithagh means may you have good. And I think that's as good a way to finish as any, to say thank you, Gura Maithagh, may you have good. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Professor hÓgartaigh. So, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to ENLIGHT. Some of you know very well what ENLIGHT is all about, but it's new to some people in the audience, which is both brilliant and exciting, because the more people join the ENLIGHT family and get benefit from ENLIGHT, the happier we all are. So as I said, this is our second ENLIGHT European Dialogue, and we've got great ambitions for it. But when we look at what ENLIGHT is all about, it's a European university network that's supported by the European Union Erasmus funding. And it's one of a number of networks that formed in 2 waves across Europe. There's probably at the moment about 44 networks, and the European Union have the ambition to grow that to 60 networks. But at the moment, the network is coming to the end of its first 3 years of funding and working hard to find many ways of connecting. So we have the ENLIGHT Erasmus funded component of the network, but we also have ENLIGHT Rise, which is the sister project, and that's funded by Horizon 2020 and runs on a slightly different time frame from 2021 to 24. And ENLIGHT Rise is very much about creating the research synergies and the infrastructure to really encourage research connections across the network. So today is also about the coming together of ENLIGHT and ENLIGHT Rise in what we're trying to achieve today. So as I said, we're coming to the end of our first 3 years of ENLIGHT. So we put in an application for a further 4 years of funding. So if you do have any spare fingers, keep them crossed for the next couple of months. We're hoping that we'll know the outcome of that application in probably July of this year. So we never want to prejudge these things, but we're optimistic. So ENLIGHT is made up of 9 European university partners. So there's ourselves here in Galway. I'm going to get them in a different order around the map, but we have colleagues in the Basque country, from the University of Bordeaux, from University of Ghent, from Groningen and Göttingen, from Tartu in Estonia, from Comenius University, which is based in Slovakia, and I've left our great European university partner, Uppsala, until last. So Uppsala and University of Galway have led out on organising the European dialogues. And the first one was hosted in Uppsala last year, which is why it's our turn to host this one here. We're also, in the next version of ENLIGHT, welcoming the University of Bern as an associate partner to the ENLIGHT European Network. So we have a representative from the University of Bern here with us today, so a very warm welcome to you. And of course, this is a very special event because not only is this about academics and universities coming together, we're also welcoming a number of companies from across the network joining us here today to be part of the process of this European dialogue. And as companies, you've highlighted challenges that you're facing, posed questions that are going to be explored today through the AIMdays, and hopefully continuing those conversations on. And what we're really saying, as our president said, is what we're really hoping is that this isn't 2 days of conversation and then nothing happens. The whole idea of this is that we're creating the environment where you come together to start seeing opportunities to find solutions to these problems and then find ways to carry on those conversations. And we'll be encouraging that as much as we can. So ENLIGHT's mission is all about transformation of higher education, empowering global learners as globally engaged citizens. And really what underpins that is the recognition of the huge societal challenges that we're all facing. They're very strongly articulated through the Sustainable Development Goals, which we work to as part of ENLIGHT. But recognising that universities' roles in education is about creating the people who are going to help find the solutions and help guide us through these enormous challenges we're facing globally. And then, of course, the interaction with companies, with the regions around us to work on finding solutions and generating the next sort of generation of problem solvers who work on real world problems and know how to engage well with other actors in society who are tackling those problems and dealing with those issues is what ENLIGHT is all about. And it's about establishing an open space for both education and research, knowing that we're better cooperating and that actually we offer our students and our researchers and the research environment more by being a network, so that as a network we see ourselves as being greater than the sum of our parts. And we have this lovely diagram here, which Igor, our colleague from the Basque Country, is in the audience, who drew very early on in the ENLIGHT discussion. But it beautifully illustrates this idea that we're 9 universities, shortly to be 10 within the network, but each of us needs to really connect what ENLIGHT does with our region, and then we connect across the areas of ENLIGHT, but not just us as universities, we're connecting the regions and the opportunities and the shared learnings across the network. So as a network, we have 6 key focus areas, and we're here today because we're very much focusing on health and well-being and digitisation as 2 of those key themes, and we're expecting great things to come out of these conversations. So Today is special because it's bringing together both the Erasmus part of ENLIGHT, so the educational component of ENLIGHT, and the research component of ENLIGHT together into one room to have these conversations. We've got this strong focus on outreach and innovation as part of the conversations that are going to happen over the next 2 days, and thinking about how we're connecting our external stakeholders and our universities together, and hoping that something really powerful and productive comes from that. We know, as we've already recognised, you know, we're looking at digital health as the theme here, and really thinking about the key challenges, the emerging challenges, the opportunities that digital health, which is a fast-moving area, is going to present for us. And also hoping that some of the connections, some of the ideas, some of the opportunities that emerge from the conversations today carry on into the next phase of ENLIGHT, when we are going to be successful in our funding bid and have another 4 years of activity. So to try and help that, there's a number of institutions that are offering seed funding. So not only are we hoping that there are great conversations, great ideas, real opportunities identified through these 2 days of conversation, but that we're trying to enable that to carry on, so through offering seed funding, and there'll also be folks following up from your universities, from your regions, from us as the European Dialogue organisers, to see how we can help encourage and make sure that these conversations carry on after these 2 days. And also there'll be more encouragement, more opportunity to really embed the ideas, the activities, the things that come out of these 2 days in ENLIGHT 2.0, the next 4 years of ENLIGHT. So that again, that sort of underpinning foundational support for what happens in these 2 days is going to carry on and really hopefully make what comes out of this something very special and something with longevity. So the expectations are high, the hopes are high, but most importantly, I hope you find it really enjoyable, really enriching, and that it really confirms for you the value of participating in ENLIGHT activities such as this. So now I'm going to move on to the much more important part of the event, which is to introduce the first keynote speaker, which is Professor Martin O'Halloran. So Martin is based here at the University of Galway and is director of the Translational Medical Device Laboratory here. And it's the first medical device laboratory in Ireland that's embedded in a regional hospital and co-located with a clinical trials facility. Martin is also an executive director of the BioInnovate programme, which Ciarán mentioned previously, which is all about really encouraging innovation and recognising real needs for innovation. So making it the opportunity to make a real difference in the health innovation sector. So Martin originally qualified as an engineer and then went on to study in clinical research to make sure that the work that he was doing had the opportunity to make that transformational difference in the health space. So there's a lot more here, I have to say. He looks very youthful, and a lot of recognition to how much Martin has done in a very short space of time. But he can tell you more about that. So I'm going to hand over to Martin. Thank you very much.